Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, the $1 Million Show. This is beautiful June 17th, 2016. And we're talking to you worldwide. We do it every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I have Big C calling in from the East Coast. Or maybe he's in the South, Big C. I know it's raining so much back there. So where are you calling from this time, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'm down here in the Southeast, and maybe we should send some of this rain out to California. See how devastating it's been with the wildfires, and it simply goes out to the people who live out there, Charlton, under all that devastation that's going on. Over 2 million acres have burned, and your thoughts and prayers go out to people when you look at hardships like this that happen. And this is a natural disaster, so, Charlton, this is not man-made, but you have to think about the people beyond the world of sports. Life continues, and these are lifelong tragedies that people are suffering through right now, Charlton.
Yeah, definitely right about that, Big C. And there's so much going on in the world, let alone the world of sports. And again, our thoughts still go out to Orlando and all the issues down there. So we know that sports is a way to bring people together. Just like we talk about how Bud Light, you get together with Bud Light and people tend to have a good time just relaxing with family and friends. And I know you good old boys do the moonshine, but definitely in California, there's always coming up on fire season, so we're always sensitive to that. And even in Texas, they're still having some issues from the floods they've had in Texas. So hopefully everyone can just find the help that they need. And if we can give you some entertainment, we want to do that just as well, Big C. But also, I just want to bring up that we've talked so much over the past week. Again, we just honored Muhammad Ali last week. And then we're getting into the OJ thing, the American story, and of course, we have this great NBA Finals going on. I thought it would be over in 6 games, but it looks like 7 games. And, there's always an ebb and flow, Big C. Just your thoughts on what we've seen so far. And the NBA, they've orchestrated a great Finals, Big C. Your thoughts on the game last night?
Well, I've seen consistency, Charlton, in this series. I've seen the consistency of bad calls by the officials. We had a player get thrown out for the first time in his career last night, and we had a coach also get fined after a press conference. But when you look at the size differential between those two players that consistently stayed in those physical altercations, Charlton, with Curry and James, God, that's a heck of a name. Put it together.
Yeah.
And, when you look at what happened, here's LeBron, outweighing Curry by 100 pounds probably. And then trying to say that Curry pushed him down on the floor. And it's like, he couldn't push his kids down on the floor.
That's so funny.
When you look at some of the egregious calls that have been made and not made in this championship round, that's what dictates the ebb and flow of a basketball game, Charlton. The officials can control the tempo of the game, not the fast break, not the dunk. It's the officials, because they can stop the fast breaks with one team, Charlton, and they can allow another team to get set up.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, and there's always been questions throughout this entire NBA Finals this year, Charlton, throughout the whole playoff series.
Yeah.
There's been huge question marks with the officials, and I think the NBA will come under huge scrutiny this year after the series is over.
Well, that's a very good point, Big C, because we know that everybody says they want the truth, I think it was a great Jack and Tom Cruise in the movie, and Cruise said, I want the truth, and Jack said, you can't handle the truth. And we know that sometimes the truth hurts, but we've also heard in the Bible that the truth shall set you free. However, when you have something that's so orchestrated as professional sports, Big C, and you're doing a great job of blending Hollywood and the sports business, and because I know you made some TV commercials over the years and you worked in sports and been a broadcaster, TV and radio, we all know the show must go on. And the real part about business, and this is just real talk, people don't want to know what happens to keep our country safe. And sometimes people don't want to know what happens to keep the entertainment value real strong. And ironically, when you speak out against the establishment, they hit you with a $25,000 fine, Big C, because Steve Kerr's no fool. He knows what goes on in the world of sports, and we love it anyway. We talk about how much we love things anyway, even if it's bad for you. But Big C, why is Steve Kerr being fined for saying this, Big C?
Well, Charles, we all witnessed what occurred last night, and it came just previous to that, Charlton. When you're sitting up, everybody has the jumbotrons in the arena.
Yeah.
Everybody has jumbo. means at home now, Charlton. So in this high definition world and 4K world, you really don't miss anything. You see the sweat drops rolling off of players, Charlton. So you do not miss the fouls and the inaccurate calls by the officials.
Yeah.
And to say that there's no contact, there was a call last night. I believe it was Iguodala going to the basket.
Yeah.
And they called the foul, I believe it was on Love. Love wasn't even in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But, LeBron James can knock Steph Curry to the floor.
Yeah.
And there's no foul call. There's a blocking foul call on Curry.
Yeah.
So when you look at the inconsistency of officials, LeBron James has had a masterful period. This is
amazing.
the first time in history that any player has led all players in every statistical category.
Yeah.
It's just a note to his greatness and his powerful combination ability in basketball. But he also gets an assist, Charlton.
Yeah.
He gets a huge assist from a official.
Yeah.
So, we can't let that go unknown. And honestly, I think the Commissioner Adam Silver really needs to work on that.
Yeah.
When we had David Stern, he was a fair man.
Yeah.
Adam Silver's kind of gotten off on the wrong foot.
Well,
finding players and letting these egregious acts occur on the court.
And see, I'm so glad you brought that up because I love this game. I mean, I couldn't stop watching NBA basketball if I wanted to. And I heard the great Stephen A. Smith saying that if they tried to suspend Curry for Game 7, that he would just stop covering basketball altogether. Now, we know, in real talk, we're just being honest about this. This is stuff people don't want to talk about. That's why they have places like ESPN and Fox, so they can tell you the watered-down version. But there are some times when they spend all this money on these large televisions. I think they have these jumbotrons now with these high-definition TV monitors, and you can even see the sweat on someone's eyebrow as you talked about, Big C. But when you say, hey, I really saw sweat, you get fined for saying, hey, I saw sweat. They've made it so that the fans can have a bird's-eye view of what's going on. Now, I know officials are doing their best also. I just think that the powers that be that want us to have 7 games, Magic Johnson told us about 25 years ago. I thank the league for giving us 7 games. I just know that what you said, and I didn't always want to follow in line with it, Big C. LeBron James, I love the way he plays, but he is a bully. He plays bully ball. And Steph Curry, for the unanimous 2-time MVP of the league, unanimous the first time ever in the history of the game, he's being treated like he's a bench player, Big C, because Michael Jordan would have never been fouled out of a game. Larry Bird would have never been fouled out of a game. Tim Duncan would have never been fouled out of a Game 6 playoff game where you won away from a championship. That's why people are upset about this.
You have to go back and try to find in history the last time an MVP had fouled out of a playoff game, Charlton. It doesn't happen. This has become marketing. This has become so egregious. And when you look at this scenario, and if you look at the media build-up going into the playoffs this year, where everybody, LeBron, went on social media saying he was still the best player, and now he's played that way here in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But during the season, that MVP vote, Charlton, was about the regular season. Okay, that's what that was about, helping a team get to a record season in victories. And it shouldn't have been about him and me, but that's what they made it.
Yeah.
And now the media has made it that way, Charlton, here in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If LeBron gets calls fouled on him, it would be a different story. Because anybody is physical. It's like when Shaq played.
Yeah.
People draped all over Shaq. Shaq is so much larger than everybody else that they didn't call the fouls.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with LeBron. But LeBron is fouling players and not getting fouls called on him, which is egregious from the officials and the NBA because we're all witnesses.
Yeah.
It goes back to they're proving that Kodak lies. So we're looking at high definition film live, and then we're looking at replays. Everybody in the arena, everybody's at home, and they're trying to say, "Are you that stupid? You don't believe that was foul?"
You know what's funny about that, Big C? There are even people from Cleveland saying, well, he plays tough, but he's just a physical player. Doesn't matter if you're a physical player. He's running over the MVP of the league, knocking him down to the floor. Curry's not known as a flopper. But even there's some people in media in Cleveland that won't mention it really on the air, even though some do. And they're saying, it was definitely a foul. There was no foul on Kyrie Irving. That was a clear strip. Also, the time he was trying to duck under LeBron James, they called a foul on Curry, who was being stood over a guy that's, 6 feet 8? I guess LeBron's about 6'8", 270 pounds. Yeah, he's maybe 100 pounds more than Steph Curry, and they're saying that Curry's knocking him to the ground. Doesn't make any sense, Big C. But we know the NBA wants to. Yeah. Well, yeah.
And at 10 years old, and all you might do is nudge a little, but you're not going to go to the ground. And we're seeing one of the world's greatest athletes flopping out on the floor from a 150-pound man saying that he pushed me down. Come on.
Well, speaking of 100 pounds, more difference, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealer, home of the all-new Escalade. When you go down and test drive it, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. It is the standard of the world. And also, Big C, and again, LeBron James, just a great player. And I'm not even going to say it's LeBron James' fault because he's only getting what they give him. He has shown that he is a dominant player. He's been in the league ever since high school, but when you have this favoritism, I just don't think we would have ever seen the thing that Larry Bird talked about in Madison Square Garden. I think you were at that game. It was so true. He said, do you think that people came here to watch you call fouls or see me play? And now the thing about Curry being fined $25,000 for just telling the truth, I think that's a garbage rule because we should have it to the point where if you're going to start fouling players for telling the truth, we should also put the names of some of these officiating, and I know they're getting a call from a higher power than themselves, Big C, but even when a 12-year-old kid can say, well, how's that a foul on Curry 3 different times, and Coach Kirk comes out and talks about it, I do think it's a bad mark for the game, and I do think the league needs to clear it up, because if you got stupid people that don't really care, they're going to believe everything they see. But you have people that have been following this game for 30, 40, 50 years, and they're saying those were 3 bad calls on the league MVP. Not about having favoritism, but that would not have happened to Michael Jordan or Larry Bird. It wouldn't have happened to Magic Johnson or Kareem. And the fact that it's happening right now, we know we talked about it. They want to build you up and tear you down. I think Curry's seen some of the backlash of his brilliance, Big C. Just your thoughts on that.
Well, he hasn't been what everybody expected of him. People talk about his defensive paralysis. There's been a lot of players in NBA history who have not been great defensive players, Charlton, but there's also been an equal number that has not been great offensive players.
Yeah.
This guy has changed the face of the NBA, and I think there's a little envy amongst other players in the league, and I know even in this playoff series there is, because he has restructured how the game is shot from the outside. The Golden State Warriors have the greatest shooting team in the NBA in the last 25 years, Charlton. And so that puts a lot of onus on them and envy from other teams and players, Charlton. So, teams have been allowed to be more physical with them because they're such great shooting teams.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, yes, that would have been fine with Detroit, Chicago, LA, Boston, how you played physical basketball then. But the game has evolved over the decades, Charlton, and became a more finesse game.
Yeah.
And they're allowing Cleveland to go back and play basketball like it was played in the 80s.
Yeah.
These officials are sitting there and they're being emotionless and faceless, but they're making bad decisions, Charlton.
Yeah, you had the last 2 games where Draymond Green was kept out of the game in Oakland, not because of something that happened on the court. This is what Steve Kerr talked about. This is something that happened beyond the playing surface, and we all know that there's a higher power that controls what happens in sports. If you want to hear real talk, if not, then just listen to somebody else. And also it happened again with Steph Curry, the unanimous MVP, being taken out of the game with about 4 minutes, 22 seconds left to play. And this is not what people are paying for. Some people pay as much as $20,000 a seat to watch some of the greatest athletes in the world, Big C. But what I would like to see, the players decide it. We know that you can't just touch someone and call that a foul. There's players that rough each other up. And as Steve Kerr said, there could be a foul call on every play. And as much as I love LeBron James, he did taunt Steph Curry after he had a dunk. Actually, it was he blocked the shot of Steph Curry and said, he taunted. Yeah. Well, it did happen.
Was allowed to taunt just like he had done.
Yeah.
Draymond Green.
Exactly.
When he got kicked out of the game, he was allowed to taunt him, and that was a play 2 minutes prior to Steph Curry fouling out of the game. When LeBron James hit Andre Iguodala in the throat with an elbow, knocked him back. And Iguodala came back and fouled him, but the officials allowed the call with LeBron to go uncalled, and even the announcers made note of that.
Well, that's called...
And then he reacted to the foul that was placed on him.
Yeah.
So even the officials are looking at all these egregious acts, not the officials, but the announcers, Charlton.
Well,
and everybody can see that this is an orchestrated scenario that has been going on for the last 3 or 4
Yeah,
days.
and it's actually embarrassing because Van Gundy, one of the announcers of the game, and I know he's there with the Jackson. Jackson used to coach the Warriors. But Van Gundy said at least 2 of those fouls were egregious as Bush League. Now, is the announcer going to get fined for telling the truth? And Van Gundy coached in the league. They know what real is. And it pains them. They can only say so much, Big C. But there's no call to fine or to call a fine on Van Gundy, one of the announcers who's telling the millions of people watching that the official made a mistake. That's the same thing Steve Kerr said. So when the announcer says that, he doesn't get penalized, Big C.
I don't even look to claim to even be as intelligent as a Stan Van Gundy is.
Right.
Or Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
But these guys have coached in the NBA
Yeah.
at the highest level.
Yeah.
They have coached in the playoffs. But, when you're sitting here, and they can obviously tell you that something is not correct, and they're sitting within feet of the action.
Yeah.
And they have an expertise. And, Charlton, you can't challenge their expertise because they are former NBA coaches, players. They've been around the game most of their lives, Charlton. And when they're sitting there saying, and as you say, it's only so much that they can say on air.
Right.
Because they're working. And you're staying in this position. They got a producer and a director in the ear say, hey, can't go there anymore. Got to stay away from that. I know what it's like when you got somebody deep in your ear.
Yeah.
Don't say that. We can't do that.
Exactly.
We got to leave that part alone. We see it. We know what's going on, but we got to leave that alone.
Now,
let the fans see that.
Let the fans see it. Now, you know what's funny, Big C, and we talk about it all the time, and people are starting to give in to it. They're starting to acquiesce to this thing of going to Las Vegas. Well, Las Vegas comes to you. You don't have to put a team in Las Vegas to have some of the Las Vegas effect because everybody who understands the game of sport, we just want to see it fair. You just want to see games called. And even fans in Cleveland, they would not like if LeBron James was fouled out of a game in the game that could be a deciding game. So,
Charlton, tell me the last time LeBron had 5 fouls.
oh no, I don't think he's ever had 5 fouls. I don't think he's ever had it.
Somebody as physical as him cannot get a foul called on him. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Big C. So obviously, we know it's a lightning rod issue. I think Game 7, there's so much interest around this Game 7 because Magic Johnson was right when they were playing the Celtics. Nobody wants to see a series that goes 4 games or 5 games. Nobody wants to see that. This game already is on Father's Day, and no matter who wins, and I think Golden State's going to win because they won't get the garbage calls against them. I also think that Harrison Barnes has to play better, but Golden State, when they get into the rhythm and going to the basket, that's going to help them. However, Cleveland's doing a great job of grabbing these guys, and it's not being called. And that's the thing that Steve Kerr talked about. Also, some of the broadcasters mentioned the same thing, and instead of saying they're being grabbed, they're saying they're allowing Cleveland to play a physical game. So no matter what happens, the officials determine what happens in the game. But I believe sometimes home cooking counts too. I just want to see great basketball, and that's my hope. And speaking of hope, this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California BMW dealer, home of the ultimate driving machine. You can only get it there brand new from the 1 Series all the way up to the super powerful 600 horsepower M7, also known as the 760 Li. And when you're test driving it, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, we know that that's happened, and we're looking forward to a Game 7. I just want to get into your thoughts before we get into a more lightning rod subject. What are your thoughts on Game 7? What do you expect to see now that the officials have been put on blast? But I think it's higher than the officials, Big C. I think they're only doing what they're told to do, and there's no reprimand when the announcers and the coach are saying something's not right about this, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, my analogy on officials, and every kid has grown up with this, with the 3 monkeys. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil.
Yeah.
That's what the NBA officials in this final series have reminded me of.
Yeah.
Because, and also you can throw another kid's analogy in there, the 3 blind mice.
Yeah, I understand.
They're all right there. And so that's what I've seen from these officials in this series. But, for Golden State to have a chance, Charlton, they're going to have to penetrate more. They're going to have to go to the basket. They relied a lot on the 3-point shot. I saw them at least a half a dozen times fail to go to the basket when they had a wide open rim.
Yeah.
And they pulled up and settled for the jump shot. That cannot occur. I mean, they're making an adjustment to Bogut not being in, and that's a big difference. But they're going to have to find a way to put a big body in the middle. They can play small ball all the time, but they're going to have to put a big body in the middle. Now, if they put somebody in there to get physical on James, spin off 10 or 12 fouls. You got Bearchild.
Yeah.
You have West, and you have a couple other players, Azili. Go ahead on and spin off 10 fouls on it. Make him go to the free throw line, but you wear him down. Get him frustrated. Play LeBron ball against LeBron.
Well, you've talked to me about a product called Hurt No More. I think they need to get some of that on Iguodala's back and let him get through the next 48 minutes of playing and have that Hurt No More stuff that they put on, or maybe a bucket of moonshine or whatever it's going to take. But I do think... I think there's a market for that, Big C. If the NBA puts a Nike swoosh on it, then I think we'll get it sponsored. But you good old boys don't want to pay taxes, so I doubt we'll ever see moonshine. At least, okay. Okay, that's funny. Now, obviously, we heard this story. Stand by your man, or behind every good man is a woman, or something of that nature. It could be behind every good woman is a man. Who knows? But I just want to say that I think we're going down a slippery slope where we don't want to go, and that's when the spouse of an athlete is starting to get on this social media, and we know anyone can do it. It can be fun or it could not be fun. But I remember when you had the great Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen, his wife, she criticized on social media that Tom Brady can't throw passes and catch them too, and that's kind of a slam on the receivers for the New England Patriots. Also, Aaron Rodgers with Olivia Munn, and she was saying the same thing. He can't throw passes and catch them too, lamenting to Green Bay when they had lost a playoff game. And oftentimes people went at them on social media for about a week. Now it's happening to Aisha Curry, where she's trying to defend her husband, but obviously she's saying the same thing Van Gundy said on the sideline. She's saying the same thing that Coach Kerr said at the press conference. And she's saying the same thing that everyone who has a high-definition TV can see. These games are being called very physical against Golden State, but not physical against Cleveland. They're allowing this bully ball so we could get to 7 games. And now that she came out and said it, maybe she shouldn't, Big C, because you don't want to tell the truth. And she's being come after by the media by saying, you know, you should stay out of your husband's business. Your thought on that? Should media be able to go after the wives of these players, Big C? Your thoughts on that?
You know, there's certain things that are off limits, Charlton, and that was talked about earlier in the series. You don't talk about somebody's mother.
Yeah.
You don't talk about somebody's kids, and you don't talk about somebody's wife. The media is off limits. I mean, as a person, even though she's the wife, she has the ability to speak. But it shows the ineptitude of the media because they want to go after her.
Yeah.
Write a story about the game. Be honest about what's occurring and not occurring in the game. Don't go after this player's wife. She is not the first wife to speak, even though wives should stay out of the sporting arena as far as comments. There's so many great athletes with wives that you didn't know they had.
Yeah.
So, you know, but it also shows the lack of knowledge and ability and professionalism of the media, Charlton, when they're going after someone's wife for comments that they make.
Yeah.
If they were so interested and professional about the game and about the stories, why are they sitting up on Twitter trying to find out what some woman is saying when they're sitting there watching egregious acts occur on the basketball court, Charlton?
Well, see, Big C, it's not going to get any better because the NFL, I think they pumped several $100 million into Twitter. And now because everybody's on Twitter, you can get real-time reaction with people. And I think that's going to give them about an extra 500 million people that can follow the NFL as they start streaming. It's the new way of the world. It's not going to change. I just think leave the families alone. But also these wives, and I heard Stephen A. Smith talk about it this morning. It's just a bit of advice. You have athletes making a $100 million contract for endorsements. You don't want to have any pushback against that just because you see something. Sometimes it's just best to be like LeBron James' spouse. You're kind of invisible, Big C. And I know that goes against women having equal opportunity to speak their mind, because when they do come out and speak their mind, whether it's Hillary Clinton, sometimes people say, hey, you know, just be quiet and keep it to yourself. I don't think women should ever have to take a back seat. However, when you're talking about $100 million in a sponsorship base that can turn to your spouse, maybe it's best to keep your opinion to yourself and keep the $100 million that's coming at Big C. Just your thoughts on that real quick.
Well, from a spouse perspective, you have a great life.
Yeah.
You get to travel, you get to buy anything you want, you get to live in the limelight, and you get there by being quiet watching your husband work.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't mess with the paycheck. What you want to do is like anybody else, sit around and be quiet, because if it comes down to it, and when a player gets traded or go to another team into free agency, the wife has no choice in that. She's not the breadwinner. She's going to pack up the house and find a movie company, Charles.
Yeah.
That's her job.
Yeah.
You know, the husband is bringing home the bread.
Now,
and so wherever he's bringing home that bread from, you got to have the stove hot, ready to cook it.
Well, you know what's funny when you think about Liz Taylor and how many the husbands that great Liz Taylor had over the time, and people like Madonna, when women who are successful in business and they get married, we talk about the great Oprah and Stedman. Oprah and Stedman are probably never going to get married because she doesn't need to, but if they did, you know Stedman would be quiet when Oprah's out doing her talk show, say stay off of Twitter, and I'll make sure that things happen. And speaking of making sure that things happen, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Ford dealer, home of the all-new F-150. They build it for it tough. And when you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Also, Beneath His Wings Foundation.org. Make a donation today. It's easy, it's fast, and secure. And when you tweet out, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. Also, make a donation at Charlton and Big C. When it comes to promotions, contact Cynthia Evans at CYNN Entertainment. When it comes to promotions, she's the best in Northern California, and let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, also, when we look at what's happening in this world of entertainment, and I know we touched on it yesterday and all throughout the week, this thing with the Americans' infatuation with the great O.J. Simpson. And I just want to close out this week again because there's so many things that I would love to see happening in the world of sports. And O.J. has kind of run its course, but 22 years ago, they're still trying to make money off of O.J. I would love to see ESPN focus on how they can create more opportunities in inner cities. And the reason is, most of the athletes they cover are African American, especially in football and basketball. And the great Nike with Phil Knight, you never hear about them trying to create schools or programs for kids in the inner city, black and white. And I think we talked about yesterday how the Black Panther actually set up some Head Start programs to help inner city kids. I would love to see a multi-billion-dollar corporation like Nike do something like that, or instead of ESPN spending so much time on a guy who was accused of committing some heinous acts, what if they got people behind putting it toward a cause for scholarships or some type of economic boost for inner cities? Is that too simplistic, Big C? Your thoughts on that?
It's as simplistic as it is complicated, Charlton. If you looked at ESPN running this series, O.J. Made in America, this is about domestic violence, Charlton, as much as it's about anything else. Why would they not take all the revenue that they've made from advertising and benefit domestic violence centers to help battered women, Charlton?
Yeah.
That's where this really should go. If ESPN wants to be the worldwide leader in sports, why don't they be the worldwide leader in advocate against being battered women? We've seen so many athletes, Charlton, in the past couple of years under that scenario dealing with battered women, whether it was Ray Rice, Greg Hardy, Adrian Peterson, and so many more, Charlton.
Johnny Manziel, basically. Johnny Manziel.
ESPN is making profit off of this.
Yeah.
But they're not helping the women who suffer.
No, they're not at all. And see,
They might put a few women on air.
Yeah.
With eye candy, but are they helping those women that were behind the scenes that no one knew about, that were being battered? Bring them to the forefront. Don't glorify the athlete or the former athlete. Help the women out, Charlton. That's your societal challenge right there.
Yeah.
The major corporation in America, help those who cannot help themselves.
And see, I think you hit the home run right there because, and as I watch some of the women that they have on ESPN, whether it's Lisa Salters or they have Carrie Champion, they have so many women who are talented and they're professional and they're here talking about this O.J. Simpson thing. But I think a woman's battered every 9 seconds in the United States. I don't see this male-dominated ESPN mentality where they even show battered women. It's almost like they want to make a profit on making people think about O.J. in the Bronco chase. But what they're really dropping the ball on, and it's kind of, it pains me to see this because the women who are being battered right now and they're in battered women's shelters, ESPN is not doing anything about that. They're not showing these women. They're not saying how this is going on today. They're making it seem like it all happened with OJ and ended with OJ. That's not the case. It's a lightning rod issue. And there's so many people, even to this day, that could follow the sports leader because they call themselves a leader. So why not, when you have half the women who watch NFL football, half the people who watch NFL football, they're women. And they're going to have this day where they have these wear pink for breast cancer, etc. Or they're going to have these programs on in domestic violence. They've said nothing about domestic violence. It's all about OJ and how they can sell more books and advertising, Big C. I think they should be ashamed of themselves saying this is must-see television, the guy that beats the crap out of women, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Well, you're so true and poignant about that, Charlton. Well, when you think about this, and this went on for years. We talked about LAPD involvement with OJ. covering up his domestic violence scenarios because they would get perks of dealing with
Yeah, they got perks.
Sports memorabilia, hang out with him on the golf course, whatever they could do. Perks, a sponsorship. One of the largest rental car companies in the world was aware of OJ's background. And they allowed this to occur because he was their spokesperson. He was the face of their franchise. You didn't want to mess with your dollars.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. You know, they told OJ he wasn't like the others.
Yeah.
Okay? He was worse than the others, Charlton.
Yeah. I think, you know, when you think about that, Big C, just think about what's happening. We're going to see Father's Day coming up. And on Sunday, we're going to have Golden State, and they're playing in Cleveland in this great basketball game.
What do you mean Father's Day?
What?
I get tired of hearing my name Dad 7 days a week. You know? Because when I hear Dad, I cringe.
You're going to hear it anyway, Big C, but I just think when we look at someone like an ESPN that has the opportunity to stand here for women, because they have so many women broadcasters now, and we know that this thing that goes on with domestic violence is a huge thing in the United States. I mean, it sure is worldwide, but we have a social conscience here in the United States to say stop, that we should put an end to it. But I'm seeing this infatuation that they're even having these, and you know, they have to say what's piped into their ear. Even some of the women broadcasters are saying this is must-see television. Well, tell that to the women being battered now, that are in battered women's shelters, that this is must-see television, seeing a woman who's been beaten up several times. How is that must-see television, Big C?
Let me give you a scenario that happened in ESPN, okay?
Yeah.
Linda Cohn. Tony Kornheiser made a statement about her a couple of years ago, okay?
Yeah.
Because she came to work wearing a plaid skirt, looking like a schoolgirl with white knee-high socks on.
Yeah.
All right, he made that comment. All of a sudden, he was suspended for 2 weeks. He didn't make anything suggestive.
Yeah.
He just made a comment about the outfit. He didn't say anything that he wanted to do or anything like that.
Yeah.
He made a comment. He got suspended off air for 2 weeks. Linda Cohn, to avoid a lawsuit, got a $750,000 raise.
Wow.
Okay, so ESPN is aware of these type of scenarios, but as long as it's in-house, and we've seen many players, Harold Reynolds lost his job at ESPN, making an alleged comment from the baseball program.
Yeah.
But, so here it is, ESPN has an opportunity to make a difference in America. They've made a difference sports-wise.
Yeah.
They have an opportunity to make a difference socially, Charlton, where they can impact millions of lives of women and men, Charlton, and stem the tide of domestic violence, because if they make it in the forefront in the closing of their show every night, Charlton, with so many people watching,
Yeah.
they can be a voice. They can be a vice. They can stem this in America. This is an epidemic, Charlton, and it's always been there throughout history. But those who have the biggest voice stay silent, Charlton.
Well, see, I remember when the great Joe Paterno, even after one of his football games, they asked him, and we know what happened at Penn State. That was horrific. But that was boys involved, and they got a lot more time. But after Joe Paterno lost the game, the late, great Joe Paterno, he said he was going to go home and hit his wife. And people kind of laughed because that was back in the 70s or late 70s when he made that comment, Big C. But I want to just say this, and I love sports too, but just because you love something, it doesn't mean you're silent, because I have a wife and daughters also, or a wife and a daughter also, and I want to make sure that my son understands that you don't go around hitting women, but this thing with ESPN, they're trying to glorify this. And I hope that someone would have gotten O.J. Simpson some help at the time, because there's a lot of O.J.'s running around. They're just not making commercials for her, or maybe they are. But ESPN has really dropped the ball, the worldwide leader in sports. And for the women who are saying, you got to watch this must-see television, talk to some of your friends who are battered. Talk to some of your girlfriends who have been beaten up, and ask them what's so gripping about seeing the same garbage put up on our face over and over and over again, and saying that it's must-see television. What is must-see television is a place for women to call and get some help. I hope that will be what we will see coming up, Big C. Tell women where they can go get help. Don't say watch this program again for the 22nd year. I'll let you close out, Big C, your thoughts on how we've seen the NBA Finals coming up, Game 7 on Sunday. We talked about it happening. We've seen this conclusion to this O.J. Simpson saga. We'll probably see it again in the next 10 years. We know that golf has been up and down at Oakmont. But just your thoughts on coming up on the NBA Finals on Father's Day, your thought on what we can see, Big C.
Well, let me go back just a little bit on this domestic violence issue, Charlton. We blasted ESPN for not being a big enough voice. They did run a commercial, if you remember, back during Super Bowl, Enough is Enough.
Yeah.
But that was only for 1 week, Charlton.
Yeah.
1 week.
Yeah.
That commercial should run every day, okay?
Yeah.
Every day on ESPN, Enough is Enough. But they would rather run OJ all day violence towards women in America. It is a social issue. It's a sports issue. But when you have the biggest mouth that can do that, they need to do that. And back to basketball, this Father's Day. I mean, it's the greatest day to have the NBA Finals on, Charlton, Father's Day.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fathers on the court. There's a lot of fathers in the stands. And there's a plethora of fathers at home watching this game.
Yeah.
A great time to celebrate with friends and family, Charlton. It's summertime, get the barbecue going, sit down and appreciate. And I hope the officials, I was thinking back to when I was a kid, and you probably did the same thing, when you had the pickup games on the basketball.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And the honesty of, if it was a foul, it was a foul.
Yeah.
Okay? You just took it out, started all over.
Yeah.
But when you've got these grown men orchestrating what's going to be and what's not going to be and constructing the evidence for the game, I think that's wrong and egregious.
Yeah.
I hope for a great final. I hope for it coming down to the last minute in the game, Charlton, to make a decision on who's going to win. I don't want the officials controlling this for 46 minutes. Let the players play.
Yeah.
And to everybody out there that's listening, have a great, blessed, wonderful Father's Day weekend with friends and family, and enjoy your loved ones.
And speaking of enjoying your loved ones, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide. Listen to Charlton and Big C Sports for all you women going through domestic violence issues. I know ESPN's making it seem like this is must-see television, but I hope that you reach out for help, and I hope that all the men out there don't be mean to people. Go and help the people that you love. And speaking of love, we want to thank you for listening in to everything that we say on Charlton and Big C Sports. We thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope you have a super fantastic day.